The bioscanner was malfunctioning. It had to be. Dr. Kess Thornwick stared at the impossible readings streaming across her workstation, her 4 amber eyes blinking in rapid succession. A Zalari stress response she couldn't suppress. According to every monitoring station positioned around Verdant Prime's deep jungle, the Alpha Shal'keth had been exhibiting unprecedented behavioral anomalies for 3 consecutive days. The data made no sense. Shal'keth were solitary apex predators, 12 feet of crystalline-scaled muscle and razor claws that had dominated Verdant Prime's ecosystem for millennia. They killed anything that entered their territory. Period. Kess had spent 15 years documenting their behavioral patterns, and the rules were absolute. Approach meant death, territorial violation meant dismemberment, and eye contact meant you'd already waited too long to run. Yet the readings showed the dominant female, designation Shal-7, repeatedly approaching the human survival training camp instead of hunting. Not stalking, not circling, approaching. As in walking directly toward the compound where supposedly soft humans were learning basic wilderness skills. Impossible, Kess muttered, pulling up the thermal imaging data. 3 separate monitoring stations confirmed the same pattern. Every morning at 0600 hours, Shale-7 emerged from her territory and moved to within 50 meters of the human camp perimeter. She would remain there for approximately 90 minutes before returning to her domain. This violated everything Kess understood about Shal'keth behavior. They were territorial to the point of psychosis, aggressive to anything that breathed, and had never shown interest in any other species except as prey. The monitoring data suggested Shal-7 was waiting for something. Kess activated her comm unit. Training Base 7, this is Dr. Thornwick. I need immediate evacuation protocols initiated. You have a Class A apex predator showing abnormal interest in your facility. The response came back crackling with static and what sounded suspiciously like laughter. Oh, you mean Patches? Yeah, she's been hanging around. No worries, though. Cadet Nakamura's been handling it. Kess felt her secondary heart skip a beat. Handling it? What does that mean? Handling it. River's been chatting with her during morning runs. Says the big girl's just curious. The comm went silent except for static. Kess stared at the unit as if it had personally betrayed her. Chatting. With a Shal'keth. During morning runs. Patch me through to this Cadet Nakamura immediately. 5 minutes later, a cheerful human voice filled her laboratory. G'day, Doc. River Nakamura here. What can I do for you? The casual tone made Kess's scales itch. Cadet, I understand you've been interacting with the local Shal'keth? Oh yeah, she's a beaut. Bit standoffish at first, but that's normal. Reminds me of the dingo pack near my dad's cattle station. Took them about 3 weeks to warm up to me, too. Kess felt reality tilt sideways. Cadet, Shal'keth or not, they don't warm up to anything. They're apex predators with a territorial range of 50 square kilometers. They kill anything that... Right, well, Patches seems pretty friendly to me. Been following me on my morning runs for the past few days. Think she's just lonely. The bioscanner beeped with another impossible reading. Shal-7 was moving again, heading directly for the human camp. Kess pulled up the live feed from observation satellite Delta 7. What she saw defied 15 years of professional expertise. The massive Shal'keth, easily 3 meters at the shoulder, her crystalline scales reflecting the jungle's green light, was walking alongside a small human figure. Not stalking behind, not preparing to pounce. Walking beside, occasionally glancing down at the tiny biped jogging next to her enormous frame. Cadet Nakamura, Kess said slowly. Are you currently running with a Shal'keth? Yeah. She's got good pace, actually. Had to slow down a bit for her. Those big legs aren't as efficient as you'd think over long distances. Kess activated the emergency consultation protocol and sent an urgent message to Dr. Vex Crimson, the Galactic Alliance's foremost expert on predator behavior. Within minutes, her colleague's concerned face appeared on the secondary monitor. Kess, what's the emergency? Your message mentioned impossible behavioral readings from a Shal'keth. Vex, I need you to see this. Kess transferred the live satellite feed to the shared screen. Both scientists watched in stunned silence as the human and Shal'keth completed another circuit around the training camp perimeter. The massive predator's body language showed none of the tension associated with hunting or territorial defense. If anything, she appeared relaxed. That's not possible, Vex whispered. Shal'keth don't exhibit social behavior toward any species. Their neural architecture isn't designed for... The feed showed the human stopping and stretching. The Shal'keth sat down beside her, massive haunches settling onto the jungle floor with surprising grace. Cadet, Kess called through the comm. What is the creature doing now? Just having a rest. It's pretty warm today, and I think Patches is still getting used to the humidity in this sector. Her usual territory's up in the cooler elevations. Vex leaned closer to his screen. Did she just say the Shal'keth has adapted her route based on climate preferences? That implies long-term behavioral modification and environmental consideration. Shal'keth don't do any of the things we're currently observing, Kess finished. River's voice continued cheerfully over the comm. Actually, Doc, I've been meaning to ask. Is it normal for her species to bring presents? She's been leaving dead things near my bunk. Kess felt her world tilt further off its axis. Gift-giving behavior implied social bonding, pack dynamics, or... What kind of presents? Oh, you know, usual stuff. Couple of those bird lizard things, some kind of large rodent yesterday. Quality's pretty good too. Clean kills, still fresh. She's got excellent hunting technique. Vex was frantically pulling up files on his workstation. Kess, in 300 years of Shal'keth observation, there has never been a single recorded instance of gift-giving behavior. They don't even share kills with their own offspring after weaning. Right, Kess said weakly. Cadet, I need you to maintain safe distance from the creature while we... Oh, she's coming back. Hold on. The satellite feed showed the Shal'keth rising to her feet and beginning to move. Standard protocol dictated immediate evacuation of any personnel within a 10-kilometer radius. Instead, Kess watched the human stand up and begin jogging again, the massive predator falling into step beside her. Beautiful day for a run. River's voice came through the comm, slightly breathless but remarkably calm. Patches seems to be enjoying the change of scenery too. Kess activated her emergency protocols and began typing a priority message to the Galactic Alliance xenobiology department. 3 senior researchers needed to see this immediately. Cadet, I'm implementing standard safety procedures. You need to return to base immediately and prepare for extraction. Extraction? Why? We're just finishing up our morning exercise. Because you are currently jogging with a creature that could disembowel you with a casual swipe of its claws. There was a pause, then laughter. Actual laughter. Doc, have you ever been to Australia? What does that have to do with... See, where I grew up, we had saltwater crocs, funnel web spiders, drop bears, and taipan snakes, plus the usual dingoes, wild boar, and the occasional cassowary if you were unlucky. Compared to that lot, Patches here is downright cuddly. Vex was making strangled noises while pulling up Earth's classification files. Kess, did she just list off a series of creatures that could kill most known sentient species? As if they were household pets, Kess confirmed. Dad always said us outback kids are tough as nails, River continued conversationally. Had to be, with all the wildlife trying to kill you on a regular Tuesday. The satellite feed showed them completing another circuit. The Shal'keth's massive head turned toward the human, and what Kes saw next made her question her own eyes. The predator's expression, if such a term could apply to a creature of crystalline scales and razor teeth, appeared almost affectionate. Cadet, I need you to submit to a full medical examination immediately upon your return to base. Sure thing, Doc. Patches gave me a few scratches earlier. She's still learning how rough is too rough when we play. Play? Kes and Vex said simultaneously. Yeah, she was being a bit grabby with her claws. Had to show her the proper pressure for human skin. She learns quick, though. Very intelligent species. Within an hour, the medical data arrived at Kes's laboratory, and she began to understand just how fundamentally wrong the Galactic Alliance had been about humans. The scratch marks on River's arms and shoulders should have required reconstructive surgery. Instead, the wounds were already halfway healed, showing tissue regeneration rates that defied known biological parameters. Bone density scans revealed a skeleton that could withstand impacts that would shatter most known species. Muscle fiber analysis suggested strength-to-weight ratios that shouldn't exist in nature. This is impossible, Kes muttered, reviewing the data for the fourth time. According to these readings, she should be able to survive atmospheric pressures that would kill Zilari, temperature ranges that exceed most environmental suits, and impact forces that would liquefy internal organs. Her comm unit chimed with an incoming message from River. Hey Doc, quick question. Why don't you just ask Patches what she wants? Animals are pretty straightforward if you pay attention to body language and behavioral cues. Kes stared at the message. Ask her? Sure. I mean, she's obviously trying to communicate something. Have you tried basic interspecies contact protocols? Cadet, we've been attempting communication with Shal'keth for over 2 centuries. They show no interest in any form of contact except predation. Huh. Maybe you're overthinking it. Want me to introduce you properly? I'm heading out for my afternoon run in a few minutes. Before Kes could formulate a response that properly conveyed the insanity of that suggestion, her priority consultation alert activated. Dr. Vex appeared on screen alongside Dr. Echo Blackwood from the Department of Dangerous Species Management. Kes, we need to discuss this human situation immediately, Echo said without preamble. The behavioral modification data you've sent suggests cognitive abilities we haven't accounted for. It gets worse, Kes replied, sharing River's most recent message. Both colleagues stared at the screen in silence. She wants to introduce you to a Shal'keth. Properly? Vex said slowly. As if it were a social gathering, Kes confirmed. Echo activated her emergency protocols. We need full video documentation of any further interaction. If humans can casually establish social contact with apex predators, our entire threat assessment system needs revision. 20 minutes later, all 3 scientists watched the live satellite feed as River approached Shal-7's territory. Standard approach distance for any sentient species was no closer than 2 kilometers. River walked directly to the territorial boundary and called out cheerfully. Hey, Patches! Brought some company. Hope that's okay. The massive Shal'keth emerged from the jungle with fluid grace, her crystalline scales catching the afternoon light. She approached to within 10 meters of the human and stopped, massive head tilting in what could only be described as curiosity. River gestured toward the observation drones hovering nearby. The docs want to meet you properly. They've been studying your species for a long time, but I don't think they've ever actually talked to one of you. What happened next shattered 3 centuries of established xenobiology. The Shal'keth looked directly at the nearest observation drone. Deliberately, intentionally, Then, moving with careful precision, she lowered her massive frame until her belly touched the jungle floor and extended her neck forward, the universal gesture of submission and peaceful intent among most predator species. "Holy," Echo whispered. "She understood," Vex said faintly. She understood the concept of introduction. She recognized the drones as representatives of other individuals and responded with appropriate diplomatic protocol. River knelt beside the Shal'keth's massive head and scratched behind what might have been an ear. "See? She's just been waiting for someone to ask nicely." The creature's purr, a sound no Shal'keth had ever been recorded making, rumbled through the comm speakers like distant thunder. "Cadet," Kes said carefully. "How did you know she would respond to social interaction?" "Well, she's been bringing me presents, following me around, and matching my pace during runs. Pretty obvious she wanted to be friends. Just took a bit of time to build trust." "Trust," Echo repeated hollowly. "She built trust. With a Shal'keth." Over the following hour, River provided a casual commentary on Shal'keth behavior that revolutionized 3 centuries of research. The gift-giving wasn't territorial marking. It was social bonding. The territorial patrolling wasn't aggression. It was protective instinct. The isolation wasn't antisocial behavior. It was selective socialization with proper introduction protocols. "See, back home we had this old bull dingo who ran the pack near Dad's station," River explained while the Shal'keth dozed contentedly beside her. "Same behavior pattern. Aggressive to strangers, protective of territory. But once you proved you weren't a threat, he'd follow you around like a loyal dog." "But the violence," Vex protested. "Centuries of documented attacks." "Yeah, well, if someone walked into your house uninvited and started poking around, you'd probably get defensive too," River pointed out reasonably. "Difference is, most folks don't bother with proper introductions. They just show up with weapons and scanners and expect cooperation." The logic was so simple, so obvious, that Kes felt embarrassed by centuries of scholarly overcomplification. "The mating displays," she said suddenly. "The territorial markings, the aggressive posturing. It wasn't meant for other Shal'keth at all." "Probably not," River agreed. "Patches has been showing me around her territory, and I haven't seen sign of any others nearby. Think she might be the only one in this sector." "Lonely," Echo said quietly. "She's been lonely. Most intelligent species are social to some degree," River said, scratching the massive creature's neck. "Just needed someone willing to be patient and respectful." Kes was formulating her next question when River suddenly stiffened, her head turning toward the deeper jungle. The Shal'keth's behavior changed instantly, rising to her feet, scales darkening, a low growl rumbling in her chest. "What is it?" Kes asked urgently. "Company," River said, her casual tone sharpening. "Kethmar pack sounds like 6, maybe 7 individuals." The satellite feed picked up movement in the jungle canopy, dark shapes flowing through the trees with predatory grace. Kethmar were pack hunters, each individual weighing over 90 kilograms, known for their coordinated attack strategies and territorial aggression. "Evacuation protocols now," Echo ordered. "Full military response, immediate extraction." "No worries," River interrupted, standing and brushing off her uniform. "Just need to have a chat with the new neighbors. Patches, you stay here, yeah? This shouldn't take long." Before any of the scientists could protest, River walked directly toward the approaching pack. "Cadet, that's suicide," Kes shouted through the comm. "Kethmar hunt in coordinated groups. They'll tear you apart." River's voice came back calm and steady. "See, that's your first mistake, Doc. You're assuming they want to fight." The satellite feed showed 7 massive Kethmar emerging from the jungle in standard hunting formation. Their pack leader, a scarred female easily recognizable by her distinctive markings, stepped forward with hackles raised. River stopped 10 meters away and sat down cross-legged on the jungle floor. "G'day," she called out cheerfully. "Beautiful afternoon, isn't it?" The pack leader's aggressive posture wavered slightly. This wasn't standard prey behavior. "Look, I know you're probably just passing through," River continued conversationally. "But Patches here has cubs nearby and she's a bit nervous about strangers. Nothing personal, just mama instincts, you know." Kess watched in stunned silence as River gestured toward the Shal'keth, who had remained in her protective position but wasn't showing active aggression. "Now, I'm thinking maybe we can work something out. Your pack looks like you've been traveling a fair distance. Probably displaced by the flooding in the eastern sectors, right?" The Kethmar pack leader tilted her head, clearly listening. "See? There's plenty of territory around here for everyone. Patches prefers the elevated areas, and you lot would probably do better in the river valleys anyway. Better hunting, more water sources, less competition." River stood slowly and walked closer to the pack. Every instinct Kess possessed screamed warnings, but the human showed no fear, no aggression, only calm confidence. "Tell you what, why don't I show you around the area? Help you find a good spot to settle in. No need for anyone to get territorial when there's space for everybody." 20 minutes later, River returned to the observation area leading a procession that defied every known principle of predator behavior. The Kethmar pack followed in loose formation, no longer showing aggressive postures. The pack leader walked directly beside River, occasionally glancing at the human with what could only be described as curiosity. Behind them, Patches emerged from her cover with 3 cubs, small versions of herself, all crystalline scales and oversized paws. "Cubs," Echo whispered. "She's been protecting cubs this entire time. That's why she was so interested in the camp," Kess realized. She wasn't being aggressive. She was being protective. River settled onto the jungle floor with both predator species arranging themselves around her in a loose circle. The cubs, apparently having no concept of dangerous, immediately began investigating the Kethmar pack with typical juvenile curiosity. "Right," River said, as if organizing a neighborhood barbecue. "Introductions are in order. Patches, meet the new neighbors. Pack leader here is, well, what should I call you?" The massive Kethmar made a sound, part growl, part whine. "Shadow it is," River decided. "Shadow, this is Patches and her family. Everyone's going to be sharing the area, so best we all get along." Over the following hour, River facilitated what could only be described as an interspecies diplomatic summit. She identified territorial boundaries that would minimize conflict, established hunting schedules that prevented competition, and even organized a cooperative arrangement where the pack would alert Patches to threats in exchange for access to her superior hunting knowledge. "This is impossible," Vex said for the 12th time. "Apex predators don't form cooperative relationships across species lines. Their neural architecture doesn't support complex social negotiations." "Maybe," River's voice came through the comm. "You've been thinking about it wrong. These aren't just predators. They're parents, territory holders, community members. Same motivations as any intelligent species: safety, security, resources for their families." Kess watched one of Patches's cubs playfully pounce on a young Kethmar, who responded with patient tolerance. She's treating predator politics like neighborhood management. "Because that's what it is," River said matter-of-factly. "Remove the assumptions about violence and aggression, and you're left with individuals trying to make the best life possible for their families." As the afternoon progressed, both predator species began showing behaviors no scientist had ever documented. The Kethmar shared hunting techniques with Patches, demonstrating pack coordination strategies. Patches, in return, showed them her knowledge of seasonal migration patterns and resource distribution. They're learning from each other, Echo said in amazement. Cross-species knowledge transfer in real time. River checked her chronometer and stood up. Right. Well, this has been lovely, but I've got combat training in 20 minutes. You lot should be fine sorting out the details. She gave Patches an affectionate scratch behind the head and nodded to Shadow. Remember, any disputes, you work it out with words first. Well, whatever passes for words with you guys. As River headed back toward the training base, both predator species followed her to the territorial boundary, then settled down to continue their negotiations. She just left them to sort it out themselves, Kess said faintly. Like responsible adults, Echo added. River's voice crackled through the comm one final time. Oh, and Doc, if you want to study predator behavior properly, try treating them like people instead of animals. You might be surprised what you learn. The comm went silent, leaving 3 xenobiologists staring at a scene that would require rewriting every textbook in their field. Emergency session, Echo said finally. Full department heads, priority Alpha. We need to discuss complete revision of human threat assessment. What classification do we assign? Vex asked. Kess watched the satellite feed as Patches and Shadow worked out the finer points of territorial sharing, while their offspring played together in the afternoon sun. Not Predator class, she said slowly. Not even standard Deathworlder classification. Then what? Community organizer, Kess said, the words feeling strange in her mouth. Humans don't dominate other species through violence. They domesticate them through social integration. The implications sent a chill through all 3 scientists. A species that could turn natural enemies into cooperative neighbors, that could walk into apex predator territory and emerge with new allies, that treated galactic-class threats as management challenges. The most dangerous thing about humans, Kess continued, watching a Shal'keth cub contentedly napping against a Kethmar adult, isn't their capacity for destruction. It's their ability to make everything else stop wanting to fight. Her final report to the Galactic Alliance would recommend immediate reclassification of humans from dangerous Deathworlders to catastrophically effective diplomats. Because in a galaxy full of species that solved problems through superior firepower, humanity had somehow evolved the far more terrifying ability to solve them through superior friendship. And River Nakamura was heading to combat training, treating the revolutionary breakthrough in xenobiology as just another successful Tuesday morning.